if you want to trade like a rebel, you got to come to Rebelcon 2022. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the fabulous Four Seasons Resort. It will be more fun and more live trading than we've ever done before. That's why it's called Rebelcon 2022. We're going to have barbecues and double the amount of live trading. The guest speakers, as soon as we announce those, this thing's going to be sold out, limited to 250 people. Sign up now for Rebelcon 2022 at the Four Seasons in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the Rebellion.
Welcome to the Rebel's Edge. I'm Pete Najarian, and that gentleman who's so handsome next to me there, well, again, that's not John Najarian, unless something happened over in Croatia. Did something happen over there?
Let's not push the line on that handsome stuff, but I'll tell you, I'll do a shout out to John. If he's in Croatia, make sure you stop in Dubrovnik right there at the pizza place. That's the best pizza in the world, in my opinion.
You know, the guy travels the world. We never know where in God's name he is, and he's moving from place to place, and he's on a boat one minute, he's on a sailboat the next, then he's on an airplane going somewhere else, and it's like, hey, man, some of us got to work, and here we are. We're working. This is the Rebel's Edge. We're really excited about what we've got, and I've got my man, AJ. AJ's going to provide all kinds of great information for us, and those who don't know him should know who he is. Market Rebellion, he does an absolutely amazing job for us. He is the oracle for all the right reasons. AJ, let's jump right into it, all right, brother?
Yes, let's go.
Semiconductors. Now, today, we had Biden, the president, signed in a $280 billion package for the chip space, right? So that's got people pretty wound up. The timing couldn't probably be much better because when you look at the semiconductors, they've absolutely been getting hammered over the last couple of days. It started off with NVIDIA when they had their warning about the gaming chips. It extended into today with Micron also talking about, hey, look, the next quarter is maybe not looking nearly as good from a revenue perspective as we thought. Matter of fact, it sounds almost like I'm interpreting, but we'll be lucky to hit the low end is what they basically were saying. So it's an interesting spot right now. Hey, AJ, what are we thinking right now with semiconductors? I know you follow everything.
Well, we're having a great week so far. Our members got long the puts in NVIDIA when it popped up, and we also got long calls in SOXS, which is the inverse relationship to SMH. So they're having a really good time right now. I'll be putting out some alerts later, maybe take some profits in that. But it looks like the semis are pulling back to their moving averages. So if you're thinking of buying on a dip, I would wait for the bounce off of that moving average and make sure the volume is low. But that's looking pretty interesting. But I've still put that one on hold until we see the technicals lining up for the buy signals.
And then the last part of that news with NVIDIA, and we're going to jump on, is when you look at NVIDIA and they talk about 44% quarter over quarter drop in their revenue from the gaming side, that's a good reason to say, you know what, that things aren't looking so great. Next, we got the meme stocks or stonks, however you want to say it. But you know, it's funny, AJ, everybody seems to interpret this as, oh, well, we're going back to AMC. Yeah, maybe a little GameStop. That is far from the truth. There are many other stocks out there than just the big two. They did kind of lead things off, but this is something that's been going on throughout my career, through AJ's career. There are stocks out there where they've got incredibly high short interest and they can make some unbelievable moves at times. We call it a short squeeze. And we see these huge moves to the upside, and then sometimes they hold, sometimes they don't, but they certainly are volatile. And I'll give you a couple of names. Bed Bath & Beyond. Just take a look at what that stock has done recently. 35% short interest in that particular name. Then I look at Carvana. The other day had an unbelievable move to the upside. 30% short interest. Think there's a short squeeze that happened the other day there. Tilray, about 13 to 15% short interest. I look over at Nikola, which is 20%. That's had a huge run of late. And a company, Lemonade, that not everybody knows this name. It's insurance, AI insurance, all the rest of it. But that's got a pretty decent 20% short interest as well. That's what's pushing these. What do you think, AJ? Do you think anything about any of these stocks, or do you just say stay away?
No, you mentioned GameStop. We had a really good run way back when they had that short squeeze. Stock went up $400, and we actually had long puts, and we made money because of volatility explosion. You got to be careful, but it's a field day for option traders if you're combining the option strategy with the charts.
Isn't that
Definitely.
amazing? I mean, for the folks who don't
Yeah.
understand that, the puts are playing to the downside. Stock is screaming to the upside off of this squeeze, but because the implied volatilities were rising really rapidly as well,
Mhm.
those puts actually went up with the stock going up, which a lot of folks who don't
Very
understand
unusual.
options don't understand that that can happen, and it does. And that's exactly what was going on there. Hey, AJ, I'm going to leave this one up for you with a lot of runway, but I'm talking crude oil. It was 97 August 1st. It's been all over the map. We were 88 just the other day. We dropped even a little bit lower than that. But where do you see crude going now? We talk about inflation all the time. We talk about fuel prices.
Yeah.
Where do you see crude going?
Well, I look at the light sweet crude contract. For those that track that on some of the platforms, it's a /CL. And you have to really keep an eye on what's happening with the emergency petroleum reserves because we've been selling that off. A lot of reports coming that we're selling off to China. And while that's been keeping the prices more or less suppressed at the pumps, I think that game is going to come to an end very quickly when we start running very low on that supply. And then I think we're going to see a big pop. I would not be opposed right now at these levels to start to accumulate at least half of a position because especially the commodity contracts, they trade very technically, and we're pulling back. Light sweet crude is trading just under $90 right now, but it's on a key support level that's a role reversal support level that goes back to the highs of November. So what happens is back in November, December, we hit some highs. We broke through those highs, and when that happens, the former resistance turns to support. So this is a really good technical entry right now. And as long as you're using a strategy to scale in, I think you'll be okay.
Well, the next one we want to jump to is going to be crypto, but specifically Bitcoin. And you know, it's interesting, AJ. All we heard for a long period of time on all the different financial news networks, everybody's talking about crypto, specifically Bitcoin. And what are the thoughts? What is the direction? Hey, it was 68,000. Oh, it's dropped all the way down into the teens. It's 15,000. It's this, it's that. But over the last few weeks, call it 6 weeks or so, maybe even a little bit extended past that, we've been in a pretty interesting sort of a channel between, call it 19,000 and 24,000. And it's even a little bit tighter than that. But AJ, what do you think right now about the crypto space, specifically maybe Bitcoin or maybe some of the other cryptos that you follow?
Well, here we go, Pete. Last time I was on the show with you, we were talking about XBI, and I put a really high target of 96 on that.
Yep.
Yesterday, we came really close to hitting that. So that hit my target or came close to hitting that target way ahead of schedule. Now, with Bitcoin, I'm going to make another call here for you, okay? There's a gap above the market on Bitcoin that needs to be filled up there around 28 to 29,000. I think the trajectory right now for Bitcoin in the way that moving average is heading up, I think that is a very interesting possibility. Again, I would not be afraid of accumulating down here, but I'll be trailing my stops when it hits that $28,000, $29,000 level for sure. Absolutely. And you can play Ethereum the same way. Yeah, for those that don't want to get in all the way with Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, this one's called AJ's Pick. And the reason why is I decided to pick a couple of unusual options, but one of them just stood out and it screamed to me, hey, this is an AJ. So here's what I got. The SLV, the iShares Silver Trust. I know you know it, but a lot of people might not know this ticker at all. But that being said, it's obviously a measurement for silver, and we're looking at the prices as they've been moving around. But here's what's so interesting on the unusual side today, AJ, the buyer of 29,000 of the November 22 calls, 29,000 of those for 38 bucks or 38 cents. The interesting part about this is they're looking all the way out to November. We don't see that very often. The second one, they also bought again. They bought 39,000 this time of the October 21 calls for about 35 cents. So we've got all of this call activity jumping into SLV today. Do you think the timing seems about right to start looking at a position here?
Well, I love the fact that these are recorded so people can go back and listen to what we talked about. The last episode was at July 26th or something like that. You and I were on. I like silver then. I like it now. But the thing is, silver over the last week has gapped up 2 times with a pretty aggressive buy move to the upside. Now that the upside gap is filled, there's now 2 downside gap. I'm a big accumulation. I'm looking to buy more silver around 17 and a half, which is closer to that moving average. Once it gets down there, I'm going a lot more in than I am right now. I'm about 70% of my silver position.
All right, now we're going to jump to the EV space. We're going to jump to Nicola, and I love what you had to say about silver. You've been on silver for a long time. You've ridden it pretty nicely. I know you own the physical and everything else. Now, Nicola, now this one's pretty interesting because we know what's been going on in the EV space. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on, what's in this bill, and talk about solar and everything else. But Nicola's actually on a little bit of a pullback after a really violent run to the upside. So they came out today and they bought some puts. Maybe they're protecting, but I wanted to focus on the calls. They bought 30,000 of the August 8 calls for 21 cents. That was pretty interesting for me. Do you have any feel at all for the EV space, the charging, the batteries, or any of that right now?
I mean, I don't think my infrastructure is ready to handle like a big widespread move to EV Tesla across the country. I don't think our grid could handle it. I'm a big fan of it. I'm still waiting for them to work out some of the kinks on the Ford Lightning. I'll eventually own an electric pickup. I mean, my whole house is solar paneled, so I might as well charge up my vehicle with the sun. But you have to understand that there's 2 sides to that market. I think Nicola right here, I think you could see a pullback down to that moving average around 637. And then I would be an aggressive buyer, but I wouldn't even go with the options. I mean, the stock is cheap enough to where you can accumulate it down here and maybe use some of the profits from other trades to build that position. But I like it on a pullback, not right now because it's still pulling back and the volume is starting to increase on the way down.
All right. Now we're going to jump to a little bit of sports. And, I know you and I both love talking about this, and you always have to remind me, Pete, I did play football as well as lacrosse. So it's not like I'm just a lacrosse guy. So I know your football. Hard Knocks, one of the greatest programs. You go to HBO every single year. They've for the last, I don't even know how many years, but it's so fun because it goes inside training camp, and wherever you are, it's always a great time. I think they made an amazing decision this year to go with the Detroit Lions. And why do I say that? Because Dan Campbell's their coach. That's all I have to say. This guy's the greatest. Last year when they named him the head coach, it was amazing when he got up there and he talked about biting off kneecaps and all kinds of other things. And boy, did that ever go viral. And people just absolutely either hated him or they loved him. And I think over time, people are going to love him. They're going to really like what they see, all the determination of the players, the discipline. They see everything that's going on in training camp. But will you be tuning in, AJ? Are you going to be watching any Hard Knocks?
After I get done answering all the option questions on our member page, I think I'll have some time. There's at 10 p.m. tonight on HBO. And for those who have cut the cable, I think it's on HBO Max. What's interesting is that I think that tonight's episode at 10 o'clock is focusing on their assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. So that's, a lot of trash talking going back and forth there. But what I like best about what's happening with the Lions is that this Friday they got a preseason game with the Falcons, who we talked about last time. So I'm going to be watching that at 6 p.m. on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You might be watching one player specifically on there, huh?
Oh,
you
absolutely. Can give a shout out. All eyes on Jared Bernhardt for sure.
I hope they give us good opportunities to get out there and get on the field and show what he can do, because I agree with you. I mean, he's a talented young man, and it's always fun to follow somebody who's considered, maybe can he make it? I think I like what you've said about him, which is he's not only going to make it, he's going to show people who he really is, which is an unbelievable athlete. So that's going to be fun. I'm excited about that.
From playing in the NFL, there is a lot of politics that go on, but it's all about the talent pool. If you could shine and you do your job and you do what they're paying you to do, and you don't fumble the ball and mess things up, you're gonna be okay. It takes time to build a reputation. You got to match the play with your opponent as well. We were talking about that earlier today. It's like option trading. As a coach, you got to make sure you're analyzing the field, so to speak. That's our market.
Yep.
and then matching the play with the right condition in the market. So
We
yeah,
got
it's
one
good.
more thing that's sports and finance kind of meshed into
Yeah.
one, AJ. How about this? What if I told you the Dallas Cowboys in about 1992-ish, I
Yeah.
think it was about that era, Jerry Jones was considered a bit of an idiot. And why was he considered an idiot? Well, he paid $190 million to own the Dallas Cowboys. And wow, people thought that was absolutely outrageous. Well, I can tell you this
Well,
year, they are the most valued franchise in the NFL to the tune of $7.64 billion. That's the value of the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm sure he's getting a lot of good laughs, and he's gotten the last laugh, and he will continue to get it because they're always in that top group of valued teams. But there's 6 teams that have a value over $5 billion, which is just extraordinary. In 2005, Dallas was worth just over $1 billion. And it's just amazing what's going on in this sport. But can you believe that we missed out on this opportunity when we maybe could have owned a franchise under the right circumstances, AJ? And
well, if there's ever an opportunity for Market Rebellion to buy into an expansion team, maybe you should consider that and move, branch out from NASCAR. But but the numbers you're talking about, you're talking about a 40% return. And what's most interesting is that the COVID lockdown really did not hurt these franchises, which is very surprising.
yeah,
They've actually gone up in value over time, which, hey, talk about a sure bet. You got it right there. I mean, the Cowboys are right up there with the Yankees and what Steinbrenner did years ago with that franchise.
Yeah, it's amazing. Seattle Seahawks in 2005 were 800 million, and now they're 3.5 billion. That's the value that puts on them.
Absolutely
Just
incredible.
gives you some of the idea of just how crazy things have gotten in the NFL. AJ, I got to tell you, you always do an amazing job. You are a rebel. You're part of the Rebel's Edge. For those that have that on their screen, if you get a chance, marketrebellion.com/Dallas. Rebelcon in September. It's going to be exciting. You can sign up now. A lot has already been taken away, but there still are tickets. If you want to sign up for that, you can. But you got to take a picture of that, and it's going to be really, really fun. I'm excited about it. AJ, you're going to be there. We've got an amazing group of people that are joining us outside of the Rebellion that want to talk about what's going on within the markets. How do you navigate these crazy markets? And that's exactly what we'll be doing in Dallas at Rebelcon. It should be a lot of fun. AJ, thanks a lot for filling in. I might even see you Thursday because I can't trust my brother right now. I don't know where in the world he might be in Paris somewhere or something.
Either that or in Slovenia eating jelly donuts. I don't know. I'll see you. If I don't see you next Thursday, I'll see you in Dallas for sure.
All right, man. Have a great one.
All right.